Hey everybody. Um, I always said that, or thought that I wanted to do these vlogs, regardless of what the content was. Sometimes I figured, my blog is sometimes very serious, so I figured eventually, like, maybe I'd have some serious vlog. Well, I have one today. In all the years that I've been sober, which is 6+, I've heard many things. I've seen many things. I've heard people say, like, I might have another drunk in me, but I don't have another recovery. I've seen people come back who've had 6, 8, 10, 15, 20 years and say, you know, it was just as I went back to the level that I started, or that I ended up when I came in to the rooms. And then it got worse really fast. I hit yets that I never thought I'd hit, and we say a yet is something like, well, I've never been in jail. Yeah, well, you've never been in jail yet. And I've seen people die, I've been around to hear, that so-and-so overdosed, so-and-so went back out, so-and-so killed themselves. But a lot of times, those people are friends of friends, or people I saw occasionally in the rooms, or, people I didn't know that well. And I'm always sad when I hear about that stuff. I'm always sad. It always reminds me that my sobriety it can be fragile if I don't do simple things that have been asked of me, that have shown me that if I do these things, people stay sober. So, as the phrase is these days, I tell you that to tell you this. I got word today that my friend Mike was found by his mother dead yesterday or this morning. And we were good friends. We had a kind of relationship where we would hang out a lot for like a month or two, and then we wouldn't hang out a lot. But I knew him well. I was at his house many times. I, saw his cats, was in his kitchen, hung out in the living room, played games with him. I went to concerts with him. He was someone that I knew would always, like, he was always into music. He was always, finding new music and telling me about it, and I'd tell him about stuff, and we'd go to see bands, and he turned me on to Damien Rice. I mean, I don't know why that's a big deal to me, but I don't know. It is. And back in May, he went on this cruise, and, I think what he told me was I didn't want to be the good boy anymore. And I don't know if it had something to do with someone he was seeing or what, but he drank. He drank on that cruise. And then he came home, and he couldn't get sober. He couldn't get any time strung together. And he told me, he went from where he started and just went somewhere else, smoking crack, trying heroin. He'd never done those things before. And so then he did get sober and got a little time together, and I called him when I knew he had gone out and left some messages that were not returned. And then he came back, in the fall, and I saw him a couple places, and I talked with him. And he said that he was, doing some outpatient stuff, and he seemed hopeful. But I don't know. I don't know what goes on inside people's heads. I don't know what goes on inside their hearts. I don't know what particular pain they may be in at any given moment, unable to see that the next day may hold something different, and that this too shall pass. It may not pass quickly, but it will pass. I'm heartbroken. It's not to say that I was not sad over the people who have gone before him. But this is the first time that I've ever lost someone close to me. And it's confusing. It's not confusing. This is what alcoholics and addicts do. When we're not using a solution, spiritual solution, I believe we're born perfect. And then the world happens to us, and people happen to us, and circumstances happen to us, and so we get soul sick. We have a soul sickness. And when we're not trying to take care of that and change ourselves away from that soul sickness, our new natural tendency is to not want to feel the way we're feeling, to not want to go through pain or crappy stuff or sadness or heartbreak. We don't want to feel it. And the way that we've grown accustomed to not dealing with stuff like that, it's drugs and alcohol. Even if it stopped working, even if we don't get the relief we once did, our natural thought is, you know what? I'm going to drink. I'm going to use drugs. I'm going to put myself into oblivion. Now, there's simple steps to take so that doesn't happen, so that we can keep that soul sickness at bay for one more day. My literature that I read tells me I only have a daily reprieve based on the contingency of my spiritual condition, my spiritual fitness. So, I get it. Like, that's what we do. And it says too in our literature that if left unchecked, we generally have 3 options that we end up. We end up in jail, we end up in institutions, or we end up dead. And I never know what that what the end may be should I go out and drink again. I can't tell which one of those 3 I may or may not end up in. It's a waste. It's a complete waste. He was smart and funny and generous and kind. He was talented. He made furniture. It's just hard. It's very hard.